all about stocks this week. The markets trade weaker because of tensions escalating in Iraq. What should your strategy be? We're going to put the power sector in focus as the government starts to meet with the industry. We'll tell you if there's value in that sector. And our investment advisor, Chokka has made a profit of 52% of his portfolio. We'll tell you how you can make similar returns. Welcome to All About Stocks. This is a show specifically meant for long-term retail investors. Now, over the next half hour, we'll tell you what your investment strategy should be in this market right now and how you can pick the right stocks that will make long-term returns for you. Remember, my email ID is at the bottom of your screen. Send in any question you have about your stocks. It'll be our pleasure to hear from you and to answer your questions on the show. Let me first bring in my colleague Ajay, who's been tracking the market for us while we've been busy all week. Ajay, give us all of the action on Dalal Street this week.
Well, Faye, it was an extremely challenging, range-bound and very narrow trade this particular week for the Indian equities. A lot of push and pulls were working on the minds of traders this week. On the one hand, we had the Iraq crisis, which was continuously a pain point for Indian equities. On the other hand, there was also rupee, which continuously remained quite weak and played a big as a weight on the mind of traders this week. But net, you see that Nifty continued to find a lot of support at the 7,500 level. Though it was a week of pressure, we did not really break down a whole lot. In fact, the benchmark indices have lost just about 0.5% this week, and select mid caps and small caps ensured that the respective broader market indices gained marginally. But net, if you see the market right now seem to be witnessing a lot of profit taking. So the classic PSU long trade, even financials, high beta, all of them remained under pressure. We saw the long defensive trade resumed this particular week. We saw IT stocks, pharma stocks saw a lot of buying this particular week. So, and also the next big trigger for the market which will give direction would be the budget. And between now and the budget, traders believe that market may continue to mark time around these levels. It may not break down a whole lot, but it may not rally very sharply either. The fund flows from the institution side remained extremely weak. There were some positives like the one commentary coming in from the US Fed, which did provide some cushion to emerging markets like India. But net, it was a very consolidation kind of a week that we saw in Indian equities, this one.
All right, Ajay, thank you for joining us with that update. In the studio this week is Chokka, founder of Economics Research and Advisory Private Limited. Chokka, I'm going to start, of course, by talking about the hike on Friday evening that we saw in rail prices. So basically, all passengers will be paying 14.2% more. Freight goes up by about 6%. Interestingly, this government avoided the rail budget altogether and just before that made the announcement. But we'll have two major impacts from this, and one of that is inflationary. The other will be on steel, cement, iron ore, on fuel, all of which gets transported by rail. If we look at our stocks in our portfolios right now, where do you see any impact coming in, if at all?
I mean, my portfolio basically consists of all value stocks, and they don't depend much on the freight. But politically, I don't know whether it is justified to hike before budget, but certainly it has got two implications. If you ask me for the economy, I firmly believe that it's a bold decision. It's needed. You can't keep on subsidizing, in various sectors of the economy and then compare yourself with China. And today we are a very tiny nation in terms of size of the economy compared to China. So you need to, get out of these subsidies and improve the productivity. But certainly, as far as stock market is concerned, certain sectors will be badly hit because we have already seen overcapacity in cement and steel, and they are at a receiving end. So definitely these two sectors
if on Monday morning we see a correction in either cement, steel or power, because coal gets transported by rail as well, do you see any sort of value in these stocks that we can pick up and use that as an opportunity for the long term?
I doubt, because the way the cement stocks have run up, I mean, they are at historical peak in terms of valuation. Similarly, steel also, I mean, you don't see anything cheap. And power may not fall badly because some of them get reimbursed, in terms of assured return on net worth. But I would rather, suggest wait for more time to see further severe correction in these two sectors before start doing any bottom fishing.
Let's look at another macroeconomic view here. What happens, obviously, when fuel that's being transported, food that's being transported becomes more expensive? You're talking about higher inflation as well. Are we looking at maybe a longer period now before we see that interest rate cycle start to turn and rates come down? How badly do you think it's going to affect inflation?
this move may not affect the inflation and it may not influence the, the decision makers on interest policy, because hardly it may have 30-40 basis impact on the overall headline inflation. The more crucial point is the monsoon, because last week we saw 48% deficit, and for the week ending 13th June, again we saw around a 45% deficit. So still not a panic situation, but if this trend continues for another 2 to 3 weeks and extend till first week of July, because that is, in my view, is the deadline for the farmers to get some rainfall, because they already started sowing. So that is going to have a major impact on the overall inflation rather than this particular move.
Where do you see value right now across our stock market? Because given what happened in Iraq, we did see a lot of stocks correct quite sharply. Do you think any of those stocks have arrived at valuations where you think it makes sense to pick up at this point?
In my portfolio, general.
In general, across the market.
See, definitely infra stocks. I mean, some of the stocks have gone up 300, 400%. The prospects of the infra sector is yet to improve. I mean, we are hoping that the government will do a lot of reforms, but you can't change things overnight. I mean, it will take anywhere from 6 months to 12 months. So still, infra stocks, cement stocks, they are extremely overvalued. And, I won't, agree with the market view that, because of Iraq, we had a fall. The drunkards have reasons, one day good business, next day again bad business, to justify their drinking habit. That's what happened in the stock market. You always find some exogenous factor to justify.
And that we should all be going out and buying McDowell's
then. That's why they are quoting at 100 PE.
Right. Tell me about the power sector right now. We've seen, after a lot of talking, the government is actually now sitting down with other members of the power sector, trying to find solutions per se to the problems that the sector has been facing for a while now. Do you see this as a positive? Do you see that this is the time where we should be picking up these power sector stocks for the long term? If I have a 5-year horizon, I don't mind holding. Does it make sense at this point to buy those stocks?
For 3 to 5 years, you should hold. You should buy, power stocks, but you have to be very specific. All the stocks rally, but it violates the principles of economics, because performance cannot be uniform. You are absolutely right. The power in the country today is not only economic issue; it is also a political issue. There are many state governments which are thrown out of the power because of the power deficit. So politicians will give enormous importance. So therefore, one definitely should hold on good quality stock where you have the comfort in terms of balance sheet and also in terms of valuation zone.
Give us a few examples of these stocks.
No, something like even NTPC. Of course, I have given a sell in one of the portfolio. But if you are asking 5-year view, something like NTPC, Tata Power, Naval Lignite. These are good management, reasonable balance sheet.
Let's take a look at Chokka's own portfolio at this point, and the reason why we're bringing it up is because it's up 52%. It was designed on the 8th of August last year, and that's a short period of time to make 52%. Over the same period, the Nifty is up 35%. So Chokka, first of all, thank you for such a strong portfolio and doing so well. I'm going to take a list out all of the stocks on the portfolio so our viewers can write it down if they want to. There's ITC, Hindustan Zinc, up 33% since we bought it. RIL, Arcom, Clariant Chemicals up 84%, City Union Bank, Emphasis, Karur Vaishya Bank, Barmer Lorry, Moil, Tilak Nagar Industries, JK Tyre, Sensor Technologies. Now, this is a great list of stocks. I'm told you want to make some changes right now?
Yeah, 3 stocks I want to sell. One is Hindustan Zinc. It has ran up almost 70-80% from the 52-week bottom. And I want to buy Infosys. And I firmly believe...
Can you tell me why you want to buy Infosys at this point?
See, as I've been saying, the market reacts to the news flows for the marginal changes. They go overboard. Today, the Infosys company is an institution. And I'm not saying leadership is not important for an institution, but it doesn't play a major role, individual leadership. So it would overcome the problem. And it's today quoting one of the, cheapest, enjoying one of the cheapest valuation multiple. And industry prospects also would improve, because it is expected that in America would report more than 3% GDP growth in the remaining 3 quarters. So therefore, I firmly believe that Infosys would come back.
Do you have a target for Infosys at this point? Or obviously, we're looking at the long-term horizon here. We have at least 4 or 5 years on this portfolio. But do you have a target for Infosys?
Short to medium term, I feel it should get minimum 3,700.
All right. So we're selling Hindustan Zinc and we're buying Infosys. What is your next call?
City Union Bank. In fact, I want to caution the viewer, just because I give sell call, please, if you are a long-term investor for anything beyond 3 years, don't sell it and don't complain against me. I have to beat the Nifty every month. I have to come here and do, So therefore, I have taken Jammu Kashmir Bank. but it doesn't mean that I ridicule Jammu Kashmir. I love it. I'm very passionate about Jammu Kashmir Bank because, if you see the last 10, 15 years history, the kind of growth, the kind of quality of assets they had, and recently it crashed because there was a concern about some NPA. But let us understand the fact that it is not a problem only for Jammu Kashmir Bank. It's a problem of the whole industry.
No, but as a retail investor, I want to ask you this. Now, if I'm picking a banking stock, do I want to be in a banking stock that falls 20% on some news in the media? That makes it a fairly volatile stock, because if I remember correctly, this was in the month of May, and it was basically a news report that said something to the effect of there is a stressed loan of a very high value. There wasn't too much information, and the stock came down 20% in one day. Isn't that a fairly volatile stock to add to my portfolio?
Problem is not with the stock. It's a problem is with the investors. You look at the same JK Bank, even if you accept the allegation is 100% true, it comes to about 300 rupees per share, but the stock was down by 500 rupees. And two, JK Bank with an outstanding net NPA of some 110 crore, whereas the quarterly profit is 250 crore. If JK Bank cannot overcome this kind of problem, which other bank can overcome this kind of stress? So I would say that the people should not react blindly. They should analyze on their own, or they should take, independent analyst views who are supposed to be quite honest, and take the view and study it and see, then react.
You want to make one more change from what I understand. You're looking at selling Clarion Chemicals up 84.9% since your budget.
Yeah, as we said, it is up by 84%. And secondly, largely the land deal is priced in the current market price, in my view. The other reason to sell is that it also has got exposure to agri input. So by any chance the monsoon fails miserably, then I may lose out this gain. So these are the reasons to sell out and buy Neyveli lignite. As I said, it is very passionate stock for me. I've been tracking it for the last 20 years. And this is the only power company which has got some 55 square kilometer of township, and the mines and power plants are in same location, and the lignite mine will last for another 20 years or so. And also on standalone basis, it's a net cash power company. So all these points give me a lot of comfort, and I am very confident we'll create good wealth in the long term.
All right, so this is one of our strongest portfolios on the show. It's up 52%. I'm going to give you a list of the stocks now as they stand post the changes that Chokka just made. There's ITC, Infosys, RIL, RCom, Neyveli Lignite, J&K Bank, Emphasis, Karur Vaishya Bank, Bama Lorry, Moil, Tilaknagar Industries, JK Tyre and Sensor Technologies. Now, if you have questions about this portfolio, our email ID is on the screen. You can reach us on Facebook. You can reach me on Twitter, and we'll get Chokka to come into the studio and answer your questions the next time he's here. Time for a quick break, but when we come back, we'll look at the report card of previous recommendations that Chokka has given us, and also we'll talk about stocks like ONGC and SR Oil. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching All About Stocks on ET Now. G. Chokkalingam is still with us, helping us figure out a strategy for our portfolios. Now, this is my favorite part of the show. We look at the report card of our guest. And this week, we're looking at Chokka's report card. There's Piramal Industries, which Chokka recommended on the 17th of April this year, when it was trading at about 600 with a target of 720. It's at 719 right now, but in all fairness, it did cross that target and come down a little bit. For those of our viewers who are holding, based on your recommendation, what would you recommend they do?
They should hold on to it. I mean, the management is extremely skillful. Look at the way they made money in the pharma business, and then the way they acquired the businesses. They acquired a Vodafone stake at a throwaway price, made money. So they are very smart, and it's cash-rich company. They would deploy this money and make a lot more money in future. So if investor is a long-term investor, he can hold it for even 3 to 5 years. It will emerge as a great NBFC conglomerate in 3 to 5 years.
Does it make sense to buy into it at this level?
Always be smart, because as I said, in the short term, not the fundamental, perception play a role. So whenever there is a fall in the market and gives you opportunity to buy cheaper, do that.
Okay. And do you have a new target on this?
I mean, if you are holding another 1-2 years, I think it should easily cross anywhere around 850, 900.
All right, 850, 900, and of course, if you're a long-term investor, you can expect more than that. Let's take a few questions, and not surprisingly, a lot of the questions this week are on oil companies. There's Giridhar who's written in 10,000 shares of SR Oil, which he bought at 85 rupees. He wants to know if you should hold on to that stock. Now, it hit a 52-week high this week. Its stock ended the week at about 108. Now, the crisis that we're seeing in Iraq at this point, how much longer do you think is going to continue to impact our oil marketing companies or our oil companies in general?
Maybe 1 or 2, 3 weeks. You know, from since 2011, 4 times we saw the media fear on oil and oil, but it all fizzled out. So same way it will fizzle out within 2, 3 weeks. Because, you know, this time around, for the first time, both Iran and the US are on one side in tackling this issue. And 2, most of the oil wells are in northern part of Iraq, and the militants are yet to reach that place. So I firmly believe that, based on my political understanding, the resolution will be found and it will be resolved within 1 or 2 weeks.
Tell me something, within the oil and gas sector right now, obviously, if you're saying 1 or 2 weeks, we're going to see volatility in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Is there a stock that you have your eye on, you're waiting for it to hit a certain value so we can buy it?
See, I would definitely, I missed out a bus in OMCs, but I would still look at a stock like K in India. In case there is any significant fall, then GAIL. Because if you look at Kane, it's just a 6 to 7 P on 1 year forward earning. It's still a surprise to me. The way I used to get surprised when Hindustan Zinc was below 100, the same analogy is true for Kane India, which will be corrected by the market in due course of time.
So at what value would you recommend we buy Kane India at?
I would buy even now because cash is 18,000 crore on the books. And, I'm not able to understand the economic logic in the market. Oil is scarce. We import 80% of our requirement. Here is the oil company, the largest player in the private sector, producing oil at a cost of single digit. I mean, around $8, $9 per barrel. And you are not buying the stock even for a 7 PE. So I would buy now. I would think in case it falls, it's a great opportunity to increase my exposure to the stock.
All right. In case Kane India falls, increase your exposure. Let's take another question. Dheeraj has written in. He has 100 shares of ONGC, which he bought at 513 rupees. He wants to know if he should hold on to that stock. What would you recommend he does? Hold on to ONGC?
Same logic. I mean, I would suggest shift to Kane India because valuation-wise it is cheaper. And also, Kane India mentioned that they are increasing the capacities. It is estimated that in FY 2017, Kane India would be able to increase the volume of production by about 22% as compared to the current production. So if somebody has 2 to 3 year view, I firmly believe that the stock can even double. So therefore, I would suggest the shift.
All right, let's take another question. George has written in. He has 1,000 shares of Petronet LNG, which he bought at 160 rupees, and 5,000 shares of the South Indian Bank, which he bought at 28 rupees. Should he hold on to both of those stocks? Petronet LNG, monopoly nearly within its space. Stock is not showing that kind of, this movement. What would you recommend we do with that stock?
I mean, it's quoting at a P of 13. As I said, Kane is quoting at around 7. So I would suggest switch. I'm overly bullish on Kane India. I do not hold directly or indirectly Kane India stock, but I'm based on fundamental very optimistic. And on South Indian Bank, I suggest that you should hold on because I firmly believe that within 6 months or so, there would be new set of licenses from RBI for starting the differentiated banks, and there would be 1 or 2 acquisition in the mid-cap, mid-sized private sector banks. Right. And that would improve the valuation of all banks, including South Indian Bank.
So hold on till there. Hold on till there. All right, let's take another very quick question before we wrap up this segment. Devang has written in. He has 600 shares of RCom, which he bought at 151 rupees. He wants to know if he should hold on to that stock. He's not losing too much money. It's at about 150 in general. There's also a stock you have in your portfolio. What's your call on RCom? Now, you've decided to hold it in your portfolio, but do you have a target in mind? What do you expect it to change?
Normally, I don't play on tactical. I go by valuation comfort, but this is an exception in my own strategy. Because in terms of valuation, it is not cheap. It's quite costly. But somehow I believe that there would be consolidation in the telecom space as well. Because you look at the Bharti Airtel, after 10, 12 years, the market share is 28%. So tomorrow, if Reliance Jio has to break even, I'm sure it has to get around 25 to 28% market share, which is going to be very tough. So therefore, my common sense says that there could be a consolidation, in the telecom space. If that happens, this RCom can, give you very good return.
All right, so if anybody's holding Arcom up right now, feeling a little disappointed with what it's doing, you're just saying wait for a little while longer, see how it plays out.
At least for 1 year, because there's a lot of action I expect in the telecom space.
All right, so wait for another year on your telecom stocks. Don't lose hope right now. Quick break. Stay with us, though. When we come back, we'll talk about NTPC, IDFC, and a bunch of other stocks. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching All About Stocks and ET now. Thank you for staying with us. G. Chokkalingam is still with us in the studio, helping us make money over the long term. It's time for us to take a look at one viewer portfolio. Now remember, every week we pick the portfolio of one lucky viewer. We take a look at all of your stocks and tell you which ones you should be holding and which ones you should be selling. This week, we have a woman investor. Raja Lakshmi has written in. She sent us a list of the stocks in her portfolio. Chokka, she wants you to help her understand which of these she should hold on to. 300 shares of Kalpataru Power, which she bought at 100 rupees. It's currently trading at about 175. She's made a decent profit on it. Can she expect more?
Definitely. I mean, valuation-wise, still there are a lot of comfort in both Kalpataru and also IDFC. I would suggest her to hold both of them.
All right. The next one on her list, 150 shares of NTPC, which she bought at 150 rupees. I know you're going to say hold on to this one as well.
No, I would suggest shift to Neyveli Lignite. Okay. I firmly believe that in the short to medium term, Neyveli can move much faster than NTPC.
All right. You did say hold on to IDFC. I'm just going to make a note of that. 300 shares of IDFC bought at 125. Can you give her a target or something to expect on IDFC?
At least around 140. But if she is willing to wait for 2-3 years, I think the stock can go to even anywhere around 180, 200 also. Apart from banking license, as I said, that definitely there is no choice for the government. Government has to improve the infrastructure development in next 1 to 3 years. And this will be the beneficiary of that.
All right. Next on her list is HCC. She bought it at about 36 rupees. It's currently trading closer to 40. What more can we expect from HCC?
Stock has already moved up more than 5 times from the bottom. And second, lot of debt on the books. And third, it's quoting, at around 20p on 1 year forward earning. So therefore, considering these 3 facts, I would suggest sell and buy JK Tyre. JK Tyre also moved up substantially, but still it is quoting at around 4.5p on FY14 earnings.
I want to very quickly ask you, since we're talking about HCC, very similar stock is the Noida toll bridge, which has now close to paid off all of its debt. And now anything that comes in will be for the shareholders and is no longer for the debtors. Do you think that's a better option within the infrastructure space?
It is also a good stock, no doubt about it. Most of the time, analysts try to, if I like a Bihar caustic, they will suggest, Kempf alkalic, another caustic soda. But I believe
there's no need to box your investments.
I think investors are married to money, not to the caustic soda. So you are right, it's a good stock. So, but to my mind, it came to that, Neyveli can do much faster return than...
All right. So that's interesting. You don't have to replace a pharma stock with a pharma stock. You can actually look across the market.
It's a mindset problem.
It's a mindset problem.
You love money, not the sector.
Now remember, if you have doubts about anything that you heard on the show, you have questions for us, write to us. Our email ID is at the bottom of your screen. Keep sending your stock questions also to our Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching, Chokka. Thank you so much for coming into the studio. It's always a pleasure to have you. Thanks for watching. Stay with ET now.